titled Childhood. We translated it into Yoruba called Igba. You can find this in Wida Books in Lagos. Ngugi was kind enough to provide the blurb because he was excited that we're publishing it in an African language. And I also translated this work by Haruki Murakami, who is a Japanese writer. The first time his work is published into an African language was my translation of one of his short stories called Confessions of a Shinagawa Monkey. A very, very fascinating and interesting story, which you can find on olongoafrica.com if you search for it. So, so my work, owes a lot to what Ngugi has done, like I said, but Ngugi is not alone in this space. I keep mentioning that Ngugi started writing in Kikuyu in the 70s. The book was already published in Yoruba in 1928. A number of other books have been published since then in Yoruba. Some of them were published while the British ran the publishing industry, and some are not published today. But a combination of what Ngugi has done and what a number of other writers have done to putting African literature on the map has continued to give us hope that translation. I started earlier by trying to give you a justification for why I think more work should exist in an African language. And I'm going to go a little bit into linguistics, which is my favorite field. I used to work at Google, for instance, and I worked on that project. Many of you who use Google Maps, because there's not a lot of writings in African languages on the internet that the web can use to be able to create tools like that. And so I've always encouraged people to write online and find a way to put as much text as possible in their language on the internet. Well-written texts, which is always hard because everyday people don't always know how to put tone marks on words in Yoruba, for instance, or understand the orthography of any Nigerian language. Some languages don't even have standard writing procedure. So that gives us a challenge. But writers who usually have to go through a process of editing and official standardization help create a lot of corpora, which can then exist and people can then use in the future to train machines that can then be able to do work. So in the future, if you want to be able to see a phone that can use Yoruba language, where you can speak Yoruba to and have it respond to you, or do the things you want it to do, or speak Igbo, or speak Edo, or speak Hausa, or speak any of those things, we need a lot of data to do that. Tech companies could commission people, of course, put money in to go and get people to sit down and generate data, artificially. But it's always better to have people authentically already writing in those languages so that then it can be used. I worked with the BBC Academy when they were setting up the BBC Yoruba and BBC Pidgin. And one of the things we suggested was that the journalists make sure every time they write and publish online, they use correct writing standards for Igbo, for Pidgin, for Yoruba, so that one day all the data that exists online, one can be able to use them for training purposes. But I realize sometimes when I go to the BBC website to see that maybe because of the rush to publish, breaking news, etc., sometimes they don't even bother to put the tone marks and diacritics on the word. So we don't have a lot of clean data that exists online. So, hello.
I must say, I actually, Mr. I am from Federal University of Ekiti State.
Mm-hmm.
First, I would say I've actually watched